Leo rising. How you doing, Leo? This is your reading for the Taurus full moon that is happening on the 15th or the 16th of November, depending on where you live. Oh my goodness, it's exactly at 24 degrees. It's conjunct Uranus and the fixed star Algol, which is a reference to Medusa and often off with your head kind of energy. There was a political incident that happened semi-recently, when Mars was conjunct Uranus at this degree, with a certain political figure who has just got into power. I talk about this more in the collective reading where I break down the astrology of this full moon in way more detail about how everything is talking to each other that then forms an energetic blueprint, right? A download that we then work with. So I really expand on that energy in that video, did some collective tarot reading as well. A lot of swords came through, and this is because that sense of off with your head energy that fixed star is bringing in, and Uranus, which is very independent. It's very much about your soul's path and the confidence to be yourself and walk that path regardless of what other people's expectations of you are, and your own expectations, right? So a real sense of liberation energy, like eureka moments. And so the way that I've seen this with this full moon is particularly because the moon, and I'll talk about this more a bit later in the reading, half the chart, well, most of the chart, apart from Leo and Scorpio and Aries, are being ruled by Jupiter and Mercury in what's called mutual reception. They're in each other's signs, so they're facilitating each other, and they're ruling this moon by energy transfer. And so there's a real sense of wisdom and perspective here, right? The information that we collect and how we transmute that into faith, into wisdom, Mercury, Jupiter. And so there's a real release here of limiting beliefs, of perspectives that have blocked you being able to fully embody yourself in the 3D realm. Hi, hello and welcome. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and I channel multi-dimensional energies through my body. As you just heard some vocal light language come through, there we go. There's some physical light language, and all of this is bringing in healing, attunement, and activation codes to the messages that come through in this reading. Okay, so let's begin with this. There are going to be 4 piles with the tarot. The first pile is a full moon, right? So full moons represent an element of completion. They can also highlight wounds and triggers because we're howling at the moon, our unconscious space. The moon is full of vision, right, of the conscious mind of the sun. And so with every cycle, I find that we are both working with the light, with the dark, with all the shades in between. So the first pile for this full moon is what is coming to a close in terms of a perhaps more difficult energy that you may have been working on since the Taurus new moon last year. Okay, before I carry on with this, I read for the rising signs, and for those of you who do not have Leo in the first house, look to where it falls in your natal chart. Look to the house that it's in and the themes of that house. You want to apply those themes. Apply those themes to the messages that come through, because it will be... too many. It will be as if... I'll see if I can remember those cards, because when I read tarot normally, like for myself or in private readings, all the cards come out, but I try and limit in these because I want to get the information out as quickly as possible. It's the King of Swords and the Two of Cups that came with this one of what's closing now. It felt like that's where it's headed, which is why they went back in. So it's as if that Leo energy, wherever it falls in your chart, has now energetically moved to the first house. So when I talk about the astrology for the rising sign, it will always still link in. You've just got to add on your own natal chart meaning on top of it. You know, say your sun is there, your moon is there, you add on the themes of that. For those of you who don't know your time of birth, you'll still know, what may fall in Leo, and so you can look to that sign and then use those themes to apply to this. So as always, take what resonates. I'm going to show you this just because I not just say the King of Swords and the Two of Cups? So, Leo rising, where is this beautiful, quite sudden changes, very liberating moon happening for you? Well, it squares your energy. Taurus and Leo are both fixed signs. And so a square is an aspect of Mars. It can bring about conflict, drama, frustration, winning at all costs. Those are some of the sides of the square, but it is about friction. And friction is where we can create. It's about building. Mars is our motivation, our drive, our action, our passions. And so with a square, this is about following that, right? Following the instinctive motivation to build in the world. Squares are very powerful energy. It is all about building in the 3D reality. So it's squaring your Leo energy. So there may be some difficulties in the lead up to this full moon, but just know that that is always part of the process to really get you to go inward a bit more, to sort of figure out, okay, well, how do I work with conflict? How do I work with these difficulties? Are they going to derail me? Am I going to get knocked off my perch? Or can I use that energy to create rather than being in a state of conflict? So 10th house, Leo. Leo risings, it's happening in the 10th house, and this is your life purpose, your career, your visibility, your reputation, how the big outside world sees you. It's also about bosses. And this is, career doesn't have to be your life path. It can just facilitate it. It is the point in your natal chart where the sun was at the peak of its arc on the day that you were born. So think of the themes of the sun when you think of the 10th house, right? And I like to envisage a tree in the natal chart. So the 10th house is the top of the tree where the leaves are striving to grow and expand towards the sun, which is what we do with that 10th house. So those are the themes you want to think about. I'll bring them in with the tarot as well. Full moon in the 10th, right? This can be completing certain cycles around not knowing where you're headed, not knowing what the next stage of your career is, around motivation, because we've got the themes of Mars, Ishali with the square, Ishilimu, and your drive to head out and strive and evolve and grow. We can be working with blockages in your physical body that have stopped you from really elevating your soul's path, elevating your career. I often find with full moons in the 10th, there can be themes that come up around visibility and reputation. So often we can want to strive for things, we want to be seen, we want to be recognized, and if we're not, we can then lead to sort of perhaps some disgruntled energy, some frustration. Perhaps your co-workers are getting pay rises and you're not, and that can lead to a heaviness. And so there can be themes around that, and with a full moon it often is about clearing out that energy by highlighting it in the lead up, especially, as I said at the beginning, with the combination of Algol and Uranus, who really want to liberate you, really want to set you free. The moon is in its exaltation in Taurus. Right, this is where the themes of the moon are really supported by the Venusian Taurian energy of feeling good in your body, creating in the 3D, slowing down, enjoying the little things rather than the worry that the moon can often bring about, especially from the emotional body, or whether your needs being met, and all of those little sort of anxious energies that the moon can pick up on. In the sign of Taurus, it is raised up high. It really loves being in Taurus because Venus is facilitating it and helping support it. So as well as those themes, you could see yourself having a burst, an elevation of your reputation, an elevation of the next stage of your career, of your life purpose, of healthier working relationships with bosses. So there may be something around that. Even if you work for yourself, sometimes we're not very good at being, following our own orders and doing the things that need to be done. And like a level of procrastination may have come up. That's just sort of agitated energy, but a bit stagnant, right? Uranus is here to clear that. And as I said, career, it doesn't have to be life path, right? Your life path could be going and creating a garden that you absolutely love, and that is the joy of your soul. But career can just facilitate it. So that is the moon, Uranus and Algol, as I said, clearing things that have blocked your perspective, that have come from your physical body, that stop you from really being very present in the 3D. Now, when I finished doing the collective reading, my guide said, you got everything apart from one thing. And this was that this was that this won't be for everybody. It may well be for everybody who's watching. That certain channeling powers, certain powers of working with source or with the great unconscious of the universe, God, whatever you want to name, that this is the essence of the universe that is so magical and very powerful. And the way that we co-create it, we're going to get an upgrade in those, and they may push us a little bit socially, right? If you're finding, because not everyone is connected to this, not everyone's aware, and some people their defenses can get up, they can find it, oh, that's weird, that's odd, that's strange, you're a freak, all that kind of energy. That there's something going on here that is just gently, maybe not quite so gently, but in alignment with your soul's path, just pushing you where you're more confident and comfortable, bringing this to areas that you may have felt there are blockages, you may have felt resistance, you may have been masking and hiding. I kind of picked up on that with the Medusa energy. It could be a distorted narrative, right? She's had a veil over her of being a monster, right? And so the veil is being pulled back. Uranus is helping shift that. So there's just something around, and we had it in the Libra and Aries energy as well. The last lunation cycle with that, which was linked into the nodes, around us being more confident, being ourselves out in the social dynamic. But I got the message of it's to do with activations around channeling. And as I said, we're all channelers, we just do it in different ways. We've all got intuition, we're all working with a, as I said, either the subconscious, God, source, whatever it is you want to name it. So first pile is, what is more of the sort of the shadow work that we've been exploring over the last 6 months, what's being completed with a particular part of cycle. This may be a particular perspective, something that's blocking, basically, right? What's being integrated with this moon. The second part is what's being integrated that's less of the shadow side of it, more of the light. And I use those words without any preference, simply that they are both tools to work with on our evolutionary journey, but one feels a little bit nicer, doesn't it? And so pile 2 is what is being sort of embedded, right, that you've been working on, that you're sort of completing. It's not going away, but it's being integrated into your being, right, with this full moon. The third pile is going to be, because I work with 6-month cycles and I see full moons and new moons and full moons as places where we get downloads, right, because the cycles never end. So with this sense of completion, this elevation, this illumination that the full moon can bring, we'll get a download. That the baseline for that is in the collective reading with the tarot and the astrology. We'll get a download that will then unfold over the next 6 months to the Taurus new moon. So that is pile 3. What's the download? What's being activated with this full moon? And then pile 4 is going to be how to work with the activation over the next 6 months. So those are going to be the 4 main piles. I may, if I feel called to do so, I'm definitely going to be pulling a card from two oracle decks. But I might pull a couple of cards on the Uranian energy, and also on Saturn, who is going direct a couple of hours before this full moon. I'm certainly feeling the station direct energy of Saturn, which we're all in right now. And you may have noticed over the last couple of days or the last week or so, just a build-up of everything that Saturn retrograde has been dredging through the ocean, right, to bring to the surface, right? Because when planets are retrograde, it's more of an inner yin esoteric experience, right? So it's a cultivation, it's a bringing depth and nuance to something, but it's often revisiting, and it can be revisiting old distortions. What I've been feeling really, really strongly is I've had with this Scorpio energy, right? Because the sun's still in Scorpio, and Scorpio is very much about looking in the darkness and having the courage to do so. But it is about, the sort of the fixed water within you. And this with the ocean of Pisces and this sun in Scorpio, it feels like a dredging of fixed sludge that's been stuck in the ocean, that's kind of blocked Okay, I haven't vocalized it in this way, but blocking an ecosystem of connection, right? Taurus, how all our physical senses are connected, the body's connected. That is allowing, that is being dredged up to be dissolved, right? This is the Neptune energy going on with Saturn in Pisces, being dissolved. And some big archetypal stuff coming up. So I felt like certain themes that I was like, I thought I'd really moved past this, that are linked into wounds that cycle decades. And I was like, geez, I really genuinely thought. And then they've all been coming to the surface, and I've had to really try and stay predominantly in this state of calm and tap into what is my root energy, like my higher self energy, my soul energy, trying to tell me, and it's like, dissolve. This is being dissolved. Lots of fears, lots of worries, all of that. And this is all linked into the astrology of like then that Uranian energy with this great dissolving is coming with sudden eureka moments, more galactic energy. Uranus is very future thinking, right? So it's really allowing us to get out of the past, get out of that stuck energy, not denying the past, not denying the reality of it, but it's allowing us to be more present, but in that present moment with the expansion, with the intention to expand into the future. So I was talking about fears and I was talking about dissolving, and this is because the sun and the moon are making harmonious aspects to Pluto and Neptune. I really recommend, Pluto's going to be moving into Aquarius soon, but I really recommend a Pluto in Capricorn oracle reading. Pluto has its own playlist, it's really easy to find. Pluto is making these harmonious aspects to Neptune and Uranus, and they are the 3 outer planets. And this is a real shift and change and elevation in our deeper knowing and faith and connection to rooted power in order to transform this magical reality in alignment with our soul's path, right? This is really massive collective archetypal shifts in consciousness, these harmonious aspects. Again, talk about that in the Pluto in Capricorn energy. And they're all in yin sign, so this is real cultivating energy, the observer mode of the letting it all digest, letting it rest, and letting it build from a place of foundational strength. They are all going to move into yang signs. They're going to move into fire and air along with Saturn. And so we are in this huge arc of change that's going on right now. It's a very unusual shiftation. Okay, I want it to be that way around. And so the moon and Uranus and Algol are trine Pluto, as well as the asteroid Ceres, who represents the harvest. She represents abundance. She represents nourishment and nurturing. And a trine is a very harmonious aspect. It's ruled by Jupiter. It's free-flowing. It's an elevation. It's wisdom. It's ease. Like there's just a deeper wisdom, a deeper confidence coming in. But in the lead up is the fear, is the worry of not having the harvest, of not having abundance. And that's over in Capricorn in your 6th house of work, right? How you figure things out. How are things going? I'm not feeling those. What was I going to say? Yeah, so we've got the dissolving knit there, and they're making, all of them are making harmonious aspects to Neptune, who's still retrograde, and that is the dissolving of the illusion that we do not live in a magical reality. And the sun is getting involved over in Scorpio, which is in your 4th house of your roots and your foundations, your ancestors, both blood and soul lineage, as well as your parental figures, the roof over your head, and things you do in private. It's the root system of the tree that I was talking about. The sun is there, so you've had a lot of focus about your foundations. Maybe some fears have come up, and you may have been working with the ancestors, a real sense of what does your home mean to you, or what do you do in private. You may have found there's a focal point in the lead up to this full moon around your next stages, around your career, your life purpose, And a focus point of like a holistic life, of happy home, happy work. With the sun being in the fourth, it can mean a little more desire to be at home, get cozy, and not focus on work as well. And that can, you know, often be a really important thing when we have a full moon in the 10th, of really noticing where you're out of balance, noticing what your needs are and how to put them into implementation. How are we doing for time? Not too bad. Right, what else did I quickly want to talk about? So, Venus rules this moon. And Venus is in Capricorn along with Pluto and Ceres, and she's square the nodes by degree. And this is very powerful energy, again, square kind of fixation. And the nodes are in the way that the south node is in communication, your day-to-day, your environmental frequency. North node is in your 9th house of perspectives. And with that square with Venus over in the way that you work, she is activating a cycle of building from your higher perspectives, how you implement them, how you communicate them. And that can be applied to any form of work. Helping elevate and give you commitment to the way that you work. Did I want to do... Okay, while I'm here, I wanted to be at the bottom of the deck. Let's do a quick card on what Uranus was up to. And Venus is in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. Saturn's in Pisces, traditionally ruled by Jupiter, and therefore takes us back to the fact that Jupiter and Mercury are ruling this side of the moon and this part of the chart. So there's a real sense of elevation of wisdom around perspective there. Now, the Sun and Mars. The Sun is in Mars's sign of Scorpio, traditionally ruled by Mars. And Mars is in the Leo sign, ruled by the Sun. And so we have another set of mutual reception. And this is between our vision and our motivation and our drive, right? So there's a real sense of building here with this moon. That is part of especially with Mars being in your sign, Leo, of a real working through your how you embody yourself, the actions that you take, what's important to you. Mars is going to go retrograde, and it's heading towards that. It's at 3 degrees, it retrogrades at 6. And so even though Mars is all a go, 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 action, 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 very independent, it is going to be going backwards. So there's going to be going over certain things that may come up during this full moon that you're going to really crystallize and cement. So there's something really around the strength of the self and your actions, but I'm getting downloads and visions in your fourth when you're at home, right? When you're in your private world. And let's get to for Saturn. What else is going on? Oh, Mars is also trining and sextiling the nodes as well. So it's really interesting that we've got the rulers of the sun and the moon, Venus and Mars, making different kinds of aspects to the nodes, which they also rule. So there is a focal point on this working through an elevated understanding of drive and passion, desire and connection, and getting them, to work in very unconventional ways, because Mars and Venus are in conjunct one another, right? Capricorn and Leo are very different energies, and getting them to work. I mean, I love the Leo Capricorn energy. It is like, you've got to infuse the heart into the duty that you feel, and find some joy and love within it, and also have an element of seriousness to that Leo energy, and they really facilitate each other. They just struggle to get on the same team. Once you kind of realize that you're working with the sort of the very firm long-term goals of Capricorn and the heart space of Leo, and maybe doing some meditations about that heart, around that heart space, tap into your soul's frequency in the heart, and then with the intention to see what it's telling you about the longer term goals. That could be a really useful little meditation. So they're making different kinds of aspects, right? Our motivation and drive, our action, finding more wisdom, more elevation, more ease and flow with the nodal axis in terms of being part of the longer cycle with the eclipses. And that Venus energy is kind of creating friction in order to build. So there may be certain situations that, I mean, I love Venus in the 6th. It's not her favorite place to be, but it genuinely does mean that you need to find joy and desire and connection with the way that you work. And so when you realize that with that Venus transit, you're going to find that you're going to get more inspiration, more creativity that's going to help you then elevate, okay, the next stages of where you're headed on your life path. And back to Saturn. Hey, buddy. Saturn going direct is everything that we've kind of been working over, the summertime sadness, right, of that Saturn retrograde. Around your authority, your commitment, your integrity when it comes to relationship dynamics of the 8th house, of the resources of the outside world. You may have found some restrictions around that, and just finding your inner strength to be able to stand in your own power. You're going to see a lot of momentum going forwards with that, especially when it relates to your longer term commitments in terms of the resources coming in. It doesn't have to be in the physical plane, right? It's a very psychic house, the 8th house, because it's your relationship dynamic and the resources with source. So there's an elevation around here of, Saturn retrograde is very much hold the line, right? Saturn comes along with tests to see if you're going to still walk your talk. And as long as you keep doing that, in the long term, Saturn's going to always have your back. Right, okay, so what is the shadow side that you've been working on that is now being released? And remember I said you got the King of Swords and the Two of Cups that came with this. And the King of Swords wanted to be in reverse. This is real big heart blockage, right? Around perspectives, around ideas, around certainly with that King of Swords in reverse of not being able to act with clarity. Perhaps you've been feeling a bit confused about where you're headed and what you're doing and what steps you need to take. Around there may have been certain issues that just haven't made any sense. Like, it doesn't matter what you've been doing, nothing seems to have shifted, right? Because the heart is blocked here, the King of Swords is in reverse, so there's a real sense of blockage, of clarity, of movement. Air is very, very much about movement, and this is this is what's being closed out in terms of can be things that people said to you when you were younger, things that you say to yourself that have blocked your heart of finding that joy, finding that creativity in that 10th house of your life purpose and where you're headed and what you're doing and how Leo, if you've been having blockages around visibility, that can really, really mess up the Leo energy because you're ruled by the sun, and so there's this sense of the need to be seen, and that is one of the wounds of Leo, that it one of its core things it's got to work through is, do I need to be seen to still shine my light? I just heard that you have been working on that, right? That's something you've really been trying to, perhaps because there's been some blockages. This is Aquarius, so there may be something around the 7th house of the other, right? Of not being seen by the other, or not having the reciprocity there. So that may be relevant to some of you. That could be clients, business partner, long-term committed romantic relationships, friendships, or feeling blocked from source as well. But I did hear when I was speaking that you've been working on the fact that, okay, there's a block, okay, there's something going on. How am I going to let that destroy me? And they're saying you haven't let that happen. You've been doing really well in that activation of letting that awareness of the difficulty not throw you. It doesn't mean it hasn't been difficult, but it's about stepping up to, okay, well, how do I recalibrate back to the self, right, back to equilibrium? And that is what the South Node in your 3rd house in Libra has been doing for everybody, of how do we not lose our inner balance? So what is being completed that is less of the difficult side of it We have Judgment and the Fool, some big major arcana coming up here for you of like what, like the sort of the illumination, the needs being met, the nourishment of a full moon. We have Judgment, which is Pluto, and the Fool, which is often linked into Uranus. So they're making harmonious aspects with one another. So you've gone through an ascension process, right? You see here, these are all the dead, right? And these can be old versions of self as well as the ancestors, both blood and soul lineage, where energy gets stuck through grief, rage, pain, anguish, all of those things, revenge, resentment, all of those sort of heavier energies that often, you know, our old versions of self are still holding on to, right? The ancestors may have, you know, suffered a horrible life, and that energy's got stuck in the field, right? And this is all about the resurrection of that energy through a frequency, right? A higher frequency from the angelic realms, or however, I'll just a more integrated, elevated energy that is facilitating this sort of ascension, right? And coming into better judgment. So that Pluto has been digging up a lot of dirt over in your 6th house, resources as well as fears. It was in the sign of Aquarius, opposite your sign, for quite some time over the last 6 months. So but overall, if we think about the Judgment card in terms of your 10th house, right? Even though Pluto's been doing work in the work house of how you work, being the adult in the room, as well as your one-on-one relationships. In terms of the 10th, it's highlighting this as well. Like, you've gone through some difficult energy, and this full moon is activating as an elevation of all of that, right? A real release of the stuck energy that's leading to the Fool. So this is what's being embedded, right? Rather than the sort of the weight, the 3 of Swords, right? The heart discordian energy, repeating of cycles, the stagnant energy of the King of Swords in reverse. And the King of Swords can be a bit too serious, a bit too like cool, calm and collected in a way that loses the heart, right? Because it's Aquarius, and often with the oppositions, they can be very far apart from each other. But the Fool rule operates from the heart. Its chest is really far forward. It's guided by the heart. Right, it's kind of a bit of a delusional character because it's about to leap off this cliff, but it knows a new reality is going to appear. The sun is beaming at its back, right? The sun is one of the most positive cards in tarot. It's being propelled forward. It's leaving the village. It's not being bound by old ideas and old restrictions about how to move through the world and how to be seen, right? Very visible here. We've got the mountains of the higher perspective. So it's you I don't know why I turned those up. It's you going out into the world now with a lighter spring in your step. Like, there's a sense of elevation of your career, of your life purpose, how you perceive visibility and reputation, that isn't so bound by entanglement, right, of others, entanglement of old cycles. So this is what's being locked in. So what's being activated with this download of the full moon? We've got the 9 of Wands in reverse and the 6 of Wands. So big fire energy coming through Leo. And the 9 of Wands in the upright is all by yourself, exhausted, burnt out, always on the defensive, right? Of not having the support, people coming at you, situations, life, your instincts perhaps being a bit blocked, or always sort of being in conflict with the self, and you're just sort of fighting the wave after wave after wave of strife and conflict. But I always say with this card, do we need to can we focus on something else? Can we reorientate how we perceive what's going on, even if it might feel like conflict, even if it might feel like difficulties? Like, can we shift our awareness around that? It's coming in reverse, so it's saying you're leaving behind a cycle of feeling quite isolated, also feeling exhausted, like not having the energy that you need, the vibrancy that you need for the expansion of your soul, of perhaps feeling like everyone's always in conflict with your intention of where you're headed, and or that certain situations you're always coming against resistance. Oh, they like that one. Yeah, boom, boom, shatinya. So it's in reverse. So we're getting a download that you're working with over the next 6 months of you're not in this anymore, right? Sometimes that can take a while to work out. And then we've got the Six of Wands, the very almost like polar opposite of the Nine, right? The Six of Wands, this figure has gone out and done the damn thing. They were instinctively drawn to do the thing that they needed to do, even if there might have been some challenges, some difficulties. It's fire, so it's instinctive, right? You're just doing the damn thing. And they've just gone and done it, and they feel good about it. They did the thing and it turned out good, and they're feeling really confident. We've got 2 victory wreaths on this card. It is one of the cards of victory along with the Chariot. That they're just feeling very confident within themselves. There's movement here, there's momentum, but it's also about recognition. It's also about recognition from everyone around this figure. They're about to go and have a massive feast. There's an element of here you, this sense of acknowledgement of who you are, how you move through the world, and this can be from your boss, this can be from other people, of seeing you, the vision of what you're doing and what you're putting into the world, and wanting to celebrate that, and wanting to have a sense of reciprocity, rather than perhaps, you know, this not the exact, as I said, the exact opposite. So this is what's being activated. How to work with this energy. We have the Four of Swords and the Lovers. So this is how to work with this energy. We have the Four of Swords. Look at this. It's contemplating that Three of Swords, right? But the Three of Swords are no longer in the heart. So this figure is in a church, and it represents being held by something bigger than yourself, being able to rest, being able to pause, being in a state of meditation, in a state of contemplation, in order to find the truth of the Ace of Swords. And so this is a really beautiful energy of incorporation, of the release of this, the sort of integration of this, and the activation of that, right? Of you are protected. Know that can be really difficult for us to hold on to. Know that you're safe, know that you're being held, whatever's going on, and allow yourself to tap into a feeling of those swords not being there anymore, right? And tap in more into your divine inspiration. So this is calling perhaps of doing sort of daily meditation, of being in gratitude, knowing that you're held, and calling on your higher self and source to collaborate to bring you inspiration about the next stages you want to do, the next places you want to go. And then we have the Lovers. Hello, Gemini. This is about integration of the masculine, feminine, and spirit in order to make good decisions, right judgment, right, when you're at crossroads. And so this is honoring the different multifaceted parts of your being and giving them space and allowing them to work together. Now Gemini is over in your hopes and your dreams house, of the 11th house, friends, groups and alliances, and reaping the benefits from the 10th house. So I just had pop into my mind, maybe do some abundance work around the feeling that you would feel if you were reaping all the benefits from your 10th house. Maybe do a little dance around the room, or whatever it is where you're like feeling satisfied with your life, feeling open and curious, feeling abundant, all of that. It is asking you to reflect on your hopes and dreams about what do you truly want, not what you think you should do, but what do you truly want. And fall in love with your life again, Leo. Allow those moments. So we have at the bottom of the deck the Four of Wands. Now, this is all about celebration of milestones. I link this into the harvest and the hard work that comes before the harvest, right? And all these figures, they've gone out and they've done the things they've needed to do. And now they're celebrating. Now the abundance is coming in. So in terms of like the full moon, there's potentially a situation happening around that full moon that is causing for celebration. Perhaps you finished a project, or you've got that pay rise or a new career path or whatever it is. There's an element of celebration that's happening around the full moon. And if we take this energy forwards, it is saying that you just do the work every day, right? Just show up, do the thing, and there will be situations to celebrate. I love that card because I always like to focus on, what am I trying to say? That celebrate the little things. Celebrate all the good times. Celebrate all the things. Focus on that energy of celebration rather than the blockage, rather than the Three of Swords, and that will really guide you. Okay, so what did we get for Uranus? What is Uranus up to? Uranus is the Two of Swords in reverse and the Ace of Cups. So this is following on what's really come up already. The Two of Swords in reverse is about knowing who you are and moving forwards into new territory, having that balance, right? You've done the Two of Swords, and now Uranus is clearing the space so you embody it with clarity. And then we have the Ace of Cups, a renewal of love, of your emotional connection to your life purpose, your career. There's a real sense of love and harmony here. And there's peace as well. You see the dove at the top of the Ace of Cups. So there's more peace. There's an energy of peace coming in and a renewal of abundance. So Uranus is really helping you on this path. Now, Saturn is the King of Cups and the Two of Cups. And the Two of Cups came up out earlier with what's being completed. It came up in reverse. So I love all this water energy with Saturn in Pisces. King of Cups is honestly one of my favorite cards at the moment. It's about, you know, being in the eye of the storm, being very calm, and being surrounded by chaos, and it not letting it distort your emotional body, right? Being able to harness and use your emotional body, use your intuition, your imagination, your sense of love and connection, in the way that you move forward, and being able to take action with that from a place of sovereignty. With that Two of Cups, right? We've got the Lovers and the Two of Cups. There may be something around here in terms of the life path of like, of having a connection one-on-one with someone that may be romantic, or just that deeper connection with the other. Because that Two of Cups is about respect, honor, and dignity. This could be more clients coming in. I love this with the 8th house of reciprocity, right? The give and exchange between you and anything other than yourself, that this Two of Cups is coming up. Maybe you've been doing a lot of work around the blocks and limitations around it. And as I said, Saturn's come in after all of this retrograde energy and gone, yeah, now we're moving forwards. You've done the work. So your oracle cards. We have a tidy house. This is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. All the decks are in the description box. We have clarity and organization, number 1. That's quite funny with the sun in Scorpio. And Venus was there, Mercury was there. So there's a real focus, often a focal point of getting stuff done at home, right? A clarity and organization, a thorough inventory, an auspicious symbol. If your emotional world feels messy and unruly and you can't seem to get clear, it's time to see how your environment is affecting you. Although your inner world has a huge impact on what shows up in your outer world, the reverse is also true. You can be influenced by the people who populate your daily life and the energy of the objects that you surround yourself with, basically everything in your surroundings. Now is the time for an inventory and full clearing of your environment. Ask for clarity from your relationships and do not make assumptions at this time. Clear and ambiguous communication is key. You may choose to let go of some people from your life when this shows up. This is a good thing. Otherwise, you might stay in these relationships too long out of a sense of obligation and social courtesy, when in truth there is nothing holding you together. Be impeccable with your word, say what you mean, and be willing to make whatever changes are necessary to clean up your side of the street. If you know you are doing the right thing, it doesn't matter who has an opinion. That said, right now, once you are sure your proverbial house is a tidy one, there is a release of energy to begin new things. Just felt a huge amount of energy come out of this right hand. To enjoy life and to know with certainty that you are on the right path. At the bottom of the deck of this is the closing door and completion. So this very much feels like it's in the same way of what's come through with the tarot. Is you've done a lot of work that's closed a massive chapter in regards to how you respond in the physical realm via your perspectives, right? With those swords showing up at the beginning, via your perspectives that have limited you walking that path. Endings, completion, your greater calling. Hello, 10th house energy. When the closing door shows up, it's a call to recognize an ending, to terminate a relationship, job, task, or situation that has been dragging on far too long. Unlock the cage you've been trapped in and shut the door behind you. This is not the time to worry about what others may think or feel. Instead, break with your routine, consider what you think and how you feel, and be true to your heart's calling. It's time to walk out the door. If you do not see a door but only a solid wall in front of you, ask for assistance. Muster the courage to say no more. Remember as well that no one else needs to be wrong in order for you to do what you've known you've needed to do for a long time. Uranus, when Uranus blew up my whole life and closed a lot of doors of my work, who I was living with, everything, because I didn't have the energy to do it. And I was deeply, deeply unhappy. So I'm really getting that kind of energy of there may be sudden situations in your life that you'll feel quite dramatic and a bit chaotic that are coming to a head around this full moon. Always trust in Uranus's journey, because it's often things that we knew we needed to walk away from, but we just couldn't, for various different reasons. And so I'm really getting that energy of like the liberation that comes the other side of that. If the door to a project or a relationship has been closed to you, stop knocking on it. You have tried that already and no one answered, at least not in the way you would have liked. Take it as a gift, difficult and painful as it might be. Move on. Every door that shuts is an invitation to find another way, another path to your destination. Better to recognize this earlier rather than later. How many of us leave a relationship or job years after we knew it was time to move on? Stop wallowing in the pain and lingering on the reasons why things did not work. It is keeping you from your greater calling. Bow deeply before that closed door. Give thanks to the lessons and set yourself free. I am definitely going to do that around that full moon. Now, so this is from Rainbow Brainskull. Oh, another number one. Didn't clock that. You both from both decks, number one, fresh new beginning. I mean, I know the Fool is 0, but these don't have 0 cards, but it's the beginning of the major arcana. This is a big shift, Leo. Relax, it's still just the loading screen. Jokes. Sometimes we forget everything that comes before you press play. Trust the process and take the time to warm up. Because the game is about to begin. We always wish that we had more time to prepare. Right now, you actually do. That feels like this energy, right? This 4 of Swords of resting, allow yourself to recalibrate and focus on the joy, on the love of the things that you want to bring into your life. What's at the bottom of the deck? And that, it feels like when that presses play, woo! The infinite ocean of ideas we're all allowed to swim in. That's that again as well. Hello, Pisces. And it's 26, which is an 8, and we are in the year of an 8. Big manifestation energy. Your imagination is a spaceship capable of traveling to the farthest reaches of hyperspace. Imagine being alive in the 1800s and thinking it's all been done. Sounds just about the same today. Go fishing for big ideas. Nope, even bigger. Oh, I like this. Dream big, Leo. Dream big. Get delusional. Get delusional without any expectations or assumptions. Any timeline is possible. Right, that was a bit of a long one. I hope you enjoyed this reading, Leo. I hope it resonated. If it did, don't forget to hit that like button. If you want a personal reading, my details are everywhere. Be good to yourselves. Be good to those around you. Safe travels and be well until we meet again.